All right, let's get this show on the road. Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Curtis Dohaniak and I am a product expert with Replicon. Today our feature presentation is Solved, your project time tracking, billing, and utilization challenges. So before we get going on the webinar, I'm just going to do a quick overview of what we're seeing today. First, we'll talk about some of the challenges that organizers face when it comes to time tracking, billing, and utilization. Then we will look at how the Replicon platform solves these challenges. Afterwards, we'll hop into a demo and I'll give you a tour around the platform so you can see everything in action. Then we'll move on to some examples of customers that the Replicon platform has helped in the past, and we'll finish off with a Q&A. So just a few housekeeping notes before we get going. You will be on mute throughout the presentation, but there will be a Q&A at the end of the webinar. So if you have any questions during or after, feel free to submit them in the question box at the right-hand side of the screen, and then I'll get to as many as we can at the end of the webinar. So at Replicon, we believe that people's time is a strategic asset. But not only is it a strategic asset, it's the most important asset. Because time, unlike most things in this world, is finite. Once time is spent or used, we have no way of getting it back and we can't buy more. So we really need to be cognizant of how we are using our time every day. To give you a nice indication of how much time an organization has available to them, if you take a 5,000 employee workforce, that is about 1 million hours per year. If you up that to 5,000 employees, you bump that up to 10.4 million hours a year. And with 50,000 employees, that is 104 million hours per year. And that is a huge amount of time on any level for someone to manage. And it's important to understand where all these hours go because they're important. So one of the reasons that time tracking be so difficult is because of our Franken system here. So we can see we have ERP, payroll, CRM, PSA, on-premise data. This all has to work together somehow. And it can be so difficult to sort through all of these things and make some meaningful data from this. And this kind of Franken system can cause so many headaches and challenges. Billing delays, low utilization rates, invoicing errors. I'm sure you've all have experienced one or more, or maybe even all of these issues as you've been working along with your time tracking systems. It can also be difficult because you have so many different positions that use time in different ways, but they all have to be able to pull this from a consistent and reliable data pool, and then use this for whatever they need it to be used for. So how we solve this problem is with our Replicon Time Intelligence platform. Replicon's Time Intelligence platform provides businesses with the single source of truth that they need for their time data. It helps tackle all project time tracking needs for any business and is super configurable to meet all business requirements. It scales seamlessly from large to small organizations and can support global needs like time zones, currencies, language, and holiday calendars. Replicon is mobile first and built with the changing nature of the workforce in mind. The platform is built on the latest and greatest tech to help your business manage time in the most efficient manner. Finally, you can easily connect our platform with your ecosystem using our web services API, getting time, cost, pay, and even billing data to the backend systems of your liking. We have a comprehensive suite to help every customer manage their employee time, projects, jobs, compliance, people, and overall profitability in an easy-to-use manner. Replicon project tracking and client billing solutions powered by our Time Intelligence platform has all the capabilities needed to solve challenges around project tracking, billing, and resource utilization. But it's better to show than tell, so we are going to hop into our demo of the platform. Just give me a moment here while I switch my screen over. So at Replicon, we want to make your time tracking as easy, efficient, and effective as possible. With Replicon, you can capture 100% of your organization's time. And let's use that 500 employee figure as we saw before. That's 1 million hours per year. And you want to understand where all this time goes. For example, which of these hours are billable hours? Because Well, that's where you make your money. So with Replicon, we want to help you understand which of your hours are making you money, which of your hours are costing you money, and how to better utilize your resource pool to make your organization run as efficiently as possible. Every hour of time that you enter into Replicon is packed with data. These dashboards are kind of the culmination of all that data. It's filtered them, sifted them, and displayed them in a visual and meaningful way. But we'll look at these a little bit later. Because first, we should probably start at the beginning, and that is planning the projects. So imagine you've signed a big deal, you have a big project in the pipeline, and you want to get started with the planning right away. If you have everything in your CRM program, you can actually import this directly into Replicon, and you'll see what we get here. But if you don't use a CRM program, that's okay too, because Replicon has everything you need to create projects from inside of it. Everything within Replicon is super configurable and can be suited to the user's needs. So here you can see we can create projects with different billing types, time and expense entries, contract values, and revenue types. In Replicon, we organize everything in a succinct, top-down kind of fashion so you can really understand where each of your hours goes. So for example, if an organization has a big umbrella, kind of their larger initiatives, we call that a program. And programs are essentially, an organization's large initiatives, and that filters down into these small projects you can see inside of them. This is our summary page, and you can set this table to show you whatever information you want. But if you need some more information, you can actually drill into each of these programs to get an updated look at your estimates versus your actuals for hours, cost, and billing. And you can do this on a weekly, daily, monthly, and quarterly basis. Now, these projections are super important because it allows you to understand what trajectory your company is going on with this particular program or project. So obviously, if you're on an upward trajectory, you want to keep things going as they are. But if you can see things in the future that they might start to decline, you want to start course correcting before things get too dire. So here's our program screen, but you can actually see we divvy up our projects in a much similar way. So it's really easy to understand as you filter down the ladder. So again, here on our projects, we can see a summary of our estimates versus actuals for hours, costs, and billing. But we also do have a few more tabs to dive into here. And one of those is tasks. When you're entering time towards a project, you don't want to just enter bulk time towards a project. You need to know exactly what is going on within this project. So that's why we break these projects down into tasks. And each task can be further broken down into a subtask, and then those can be further broken down even more. This just really allows you to focus in your hours and understand where you are putting your time in your organization. So for example, if you can see in user training, we've started our webinar recordings, but every other facet of that user training hasn't started to move along quite so much. So we can really understand where we're excelling or maybe where we need a little bit of help within our organization. So now that we understand how our programs, projects, and tasks are broken out, let's see how we staff one of these projects. So our team tab will give us a nice summary of everyone who's been assigned to a project. One important thing to note within Replicon is that users are only able to see what they are given permission to see. So for example, Robert California will only be able to see any project he's been assigned to, even if it's within the same program as another project. So you're only able to view what you're given permission. We can actually assign specific project rates on a per user basis, as well as specific tasks on a per user basis, as well as assigning them a start and an end date. So not only are we dictating what our employees see, but also when they see it. And this just allows for accurate and correct time entry towards all projects. So now that we're ready to staff our project, I think we might need someone with a little bit of sage skills. So first, while we're looking over this tab, we can see all our users allocated hours towards different things in our organization. So for example, any of those blue hours are hours logged towards this project. Any of the gray hours are hours utilized on another project, and the 2 shades of green are hours that are being utilized for time off or holiday. Anytime there's a bit of white space, that usually indicates that you have a little bit more time to allocate. But if you want a better idea of that, you can also sort by percentage of scheduled hours, and obviously you're going to want to see 100%. One of the things you don't want to see is these little red triangles in the corner. And that means that an employee is over allocated, and there's a very good chance that they are incurring overtime, which again is not good because that's increased overhead. So we need someone with sage abilities on this project. So let's see what we have for our user force. When we go to add a user, we're given a holistic overview of everyone in our organization, and we can better understand again where they are tasked and utilized on different projects. We can also sort these by locations or skill, project, client. So depending on your needs, you can easily sort through your resource list. So like we said, we need someone with sage ability, and it looks like Alex Chu is free in February. So let's go ahead and add him onto our project. And once you actually add a user to a project, it is super simple to assign their hours. So you click on the week, day, or month, depending on how you need your project assigned, and you have a few options for allocating. One is total hours, and in this instance, it'll allocate the full 40 hours for a week. You can also allocate hours per day, or, which is really handy if someone's already allocated on a different project, you can allocate either a percentage of their available hours or their scheduled hours. And this just allows you to really fill in each of your resources schedules. So once we add our allocation, it will actually update our actuals versus estimates on all those project tabs. So again, we have real-time forecasting of our projects. Another thing interesting to note is this really allows you to identify where you have time to fill in some of your resource utilization. So for example, Robert, California, has only worked 36 hours in these weeks, and that means he has 4 hours free to be utilized. So imagine this, maybe we are only able to find 1 billable hour per user in our 500 employee organization. Let's say the average billing rate is $300. If you found 1 billable hour per week for a user for a full year, that is $15,000. And if you multiplied that by your whole workforce, that's $7.5 million worth of billable hours that you found just by freeing up 1 billable hour per resource per week. So imagine in instances like this, where there's 4 hours that aren't being utilized per week, how much more efficiently your organization could run. And to give you again another idea of your whole organization's utilization, we have this resources tab where again, it breaks down all of your employees' hours, where they're being utilized, and you can also again see this by percentage of scheduled hours. Another important resource on this tab is our placeholder resources. So you've got that big contract signed and you're planning your project, but you need to understand where you're going to be assigning users and what kind of resources you're going to need. So you can start planning those users with specific abilities, and you can start planning those users with specific pay rates, and this will all update into your project in real time. So you can slide in these placeholders to accurately forecast your project in the future, and then once you've either assigned users, done the training, or hired the new users, they can replace them and keep your forecast accurate and accessible. So now that we understand how we've staffed our project, we need to understand how to log time towards these projects. And in Replicon, there are tons of ways that we capture time. So we have highly configurable timesheets within Replicon. This example is a very project-oriented timesheet. So you can see I'm actually logging time towards a specific project, task, and client. You can also search these. So if you have 1,000 different tasks that you have users looking through or job codes, they can easily identify which one they need to use. And again, like everything else, they will only be able to see what you give them permission to see. So that can further reduce the amount of stuff they're sorting through, and again, ensure that they are logging time accurately. They also have the option here, if it's available on the product, to change their billing rate from billable to non-billable. And this will actually affect these little progress charts we have going at the far right over here and the bottom. So as you update time into your timesheets, you'll actually see that our progress bar will grow. And this is just a good indicator for users to understand how far along on a task they are and where they should be when they are done logging their time. Another important metric that we track is billable hours. And again, billable hours are so important because they are where you're making your money. So we want users to be accountable for their billable hours, as well as to understand where their time is going towards in the company. So as you can see, I logged some billable hours there. And if I was to refresh the page, it'll only count my billable hours, not my non-billable hours, and it'll allow us to understand how we're doing towards our target billable hours on a given time period. Another thing to note here is that I have entered 25 hours of time on Wednesday. Let's see what happens when I try to submit this timesheet. So when I go to submit for approval, first we'll notice that I did not submit an attestation. This is one of our validation warnings. Within Replicon, we have validation warnings that will ensure that time is being entered accurately and to the employer's liking. So for here, I've made it mandatory that this attestation must be accepted every time I submit a timesheet. And you can see I didn't tick the box, so I get this pop-up here. Let's accept and submit. Replicon's going to work its magic. And so an error has popped up. More than 24 hours have been entered. And this will actually timesheet submission failed. So this prevents me from entering my timesheet for this week. So there's two different types of validation warnings. The one which you just saw will occur when you have mandated that timesheets cannot be entered. You can also enter time when you have these validation warnings triggered, but it will notify a supervisor or an approver if you choose to go that route. But as you can see, we have a host of different validation rules already built into the system, covering things like workday hours, meal breaks, rest breaks, rolling time in a certain period, complete in and out times. So you can really ensure that employees are entering their time accurately and correctly. And let's take a look at a couple of these different validation rules in effect with a couple different of our timesheet formats. So this is actually a punch sheet. So Replicon does support in and out punching. We also can support in and out punching towards projects, breaks, etc. But as a user is logging all these in and out punches throughout a day, they'll have a lot to track. And depending on where they're working, there may be rules governing these things like overtime, double time, and etc. And for a user to be able to track all of this on their own can be difficult. As you can see, they have to allocate a bunch of different categories of hours for a couple different days. So what Replicon does is if you have applied a payroll to a specific user from a specific region, we can actually overwrite all that data with that payroll, and it'll calculate everything for the user. So they don't have to worry about tracking all their information. Everything is automatically applied and compliant with the payroll that has been selected for that user. Now, we also have a couple other examples of some timesheets here. So let's dive into our timesheets waiting for approval page. This is where supervisors can understand where they have to take action or where timesheets wait before they are submitted. So here we can see I have Rania Rademacher. She has a couple of these validation warnings. So let's dive in and see what's going on there. So this is an example of more of a configured timesheet. This is specific for this organization. So you can see it has things like mileage, discovery task, comments, and activity. We can see that this company mandated that a comment must be entered on every day, and Rania did not do that, so she's getting this validation warning. She was still able to submit her timesheet, but me as an approver will see this and be able to correct things accordingly. Another example is this other warning we have here. So these will just give us a kind of a heads up before we dive into the timesheet so we aren't too shocked when we see what's going on. But Chris's timesheet is a lot more simple. He's simply entering time towards his day. He's not assigning it to any task or project or billing rate. He just enters time. But we can see that Chris has exceeded his 40 hours for the week, and this is outside of our normal times for the week. So there's a couple things we can do. Chris at any time can go back and reopen his timesheet. Anytime there is a change on the bottom here, it will be accounted for in this approval history. So make sure that everything is open so that everyone understands any changes that have been happened in this timesheet. I, as a supervisor, can also go back and adjust this timesheet as necessary, but this is less than ideal. We want to increase our efficiency, so we don't always want our managers adjusting everything for the employees. But in emergencies, we can also go back and do that for our employees. And just to make things as simple for the user on the go, we have our mobile app. So just going to take a second here while I get everything opened up. But we wanted to make the user interface for the mobile app as simple and similar to the desktop platform as possible. So here you can see we have timesheets, just like in our desktop platform. And you can actually drill down in each day and enter time in much the same way you did with the platform. And this is perfect because it allows consistency across the board, and it also encourages users to enter their time as it happens. So instead of waiting till the end of the day and sorting through everything that they did and trying to remember, they can actually just enter their time on the go. So again, we can ensure the accuracy of all the data they're entering. And you can enter time towards, again, projects, tasks, you can select billing rates, you can enter comments. So everything you can do on the platform is available on the mobile app. And we wanted this ease of use to transfer over to approvers and supervisors as well. So we created this dashboard that will notify a supervisor of any time there's a change that needs to happen. So for example, if we have a timesheet that needs approving, you can get a push notification or an email. And from here, you can either batch approve timesheets, batch reject them, or if you want to do a little bit more digging, you can actually drill into each timesheet to better understand where their users are using their time. So we can see Tammy's done classic 40-hour work week. We can see exactly where she's working. And there is options within Replicon as well. If users have these business as usual 40-hour work weeks, no validations triggered, no overtime, we can actually automatically approve these timesheets to improve kind of the pipeline. So we have our supervisors working less on admin work and more on those billable hours. Again, just increasing the efficiency of our organization. So I'm going to switch us back to our platform. So now that we've understood how we log time, we need to get paid for it. And that is all done through billing. So within Replicon, you can do billing in a number of ways. If you have your own accounting or billing program like Oracle or Sage, you can actually export all this information and it will be kept intact wherever you export it to. But if you don't have one of these CRM or billing or accounting programs that you use, you can actually invoice directly from Replicon. So our invoicing feature is quite in-depth. You can customize everything. And once something has been paid, you can actually mark it as so, and it'll update directly in your system. Within these invoices, we actually have the ability to adjust things, and these changes will be marked as so. So if I maybe discovered that my project was running a little long, we had to work a few hours, the client as well as the organization will be able to see these changes transparently. We can also add things like line items such as discounts, so you can really make this invoice what you need it to be. We also support the customization of these invoice templates, so you can add your own logo, you can add client names, you can change the layout. Again, configure it to be whatever you need it to be. So now that we have gone through the process of planning our project, staffing it, working on it, logging time, and then billing for it, we want to see what all this information that we have put into our system actually means to us. And we do this in a number of ways. One of those is through dashboards. So dashboards are the culmination of everything you have input into our platform. As time is entered, you'll actually see all these charts change and grow according to whatever data you've entered. These are perfect for exporting into slideshows, presentations for leadership, or just giving anyone who needs to understand an organization's health at a glance a good idea of what's going on within a company. So for example, if we wanted to understand more about our billables by project, we can actually drill down into this dashboard and we'll be given all the raw data there. But if we wanted to go a step further, we can actually drill into some of these outliers. So you see customer billing systems is has most of our billables by project, and then we can actually see which user has logged the most time towards this. So Tammy Benson has almost doubled everyone in this area for this project. So this was important because it allowed us to identify outliers with a couple clicks and a glance, and it really allows us to A, either give accolades where they're due, or B, start course correction on areas that might need some help. Another way we display all this information is through reports. And we've all seen probably a report or two in our time. And again, like everything else in Replicon, these are highly configurable. So we do have a host of reports that are already existing. You can tweak them to your needs, or you can create your own. So it's up to you. But the reports we do have built in are kind of our most requested ones by our different organizations. The one we'll be looking at right now is our project profitability analysis. And this just gives you a good idea on project health on an individual project basis. So if we have expected profitability and our actual profitabilities that aren't lining up, you'll get an alert on the side there. And this just gives you a quick scan of all the projects that might need, again, some course correction. Finally, we understand that you have a big ecosystem with a lot of moving parts. So for that, we have our data connectors. We can actually connect to BI programs like Tableau, Power BI, and Google BigQuery. Using our pre-made workbooks and a couple clicks, you can actually import all of your Replicon data as well as all your data from the rest of your ecosystem into these workbooks. And again, get these beautiful visualizations of your organization's health. So our dashboards are concerning time in Replicon. This incorporates all of your organization's data. And like our dashboards, you can drill down into each specific section and kind of get a better idea of, for example, in this one, our utilization amongst different departments. So that brings me to the end of my demo. I'm just going to hop back to our PowerPoint presentation. We're going to take a look at how the Replicon platform has helped some customers in the past, as well as go over an overview of everything that the Replicon platform can offer for you. So in recap, here's a quick look at the benefits of the Replicon platform and how we have helped services businesses like yours. We have reduced revenue leakages, improved utilization, streamlined workflows, and increased the revenue generated per resource. So here's a customer example. Our first example is a consulting firm with over 300 employees. Their custom-built system wasn't flexible and made managing any sort of billing a nightmare. With Replicon, they achieved a single source of truth for all employee time and got proactive information to make the right business decisions. Similarly here, we have an IT services company, and their major challenge was a mobile remote workforce consisting of field engineers. Their manual processes again meant errors, huge admin overhead, and that directly caused cash flow issues. With Replicon, they achieved a holistic view of their time and had real-time access to up-to-date information. This in turn increased resource utilization and created a cultural change within the organization. So with that, we have reached the end of today's presentation. Like we discussed before, we have a comprehensive suite to help businesses manage all their time, projects, compliance, people, and profits. And today, we just saw some of the capabilities around project billing, and we look forward to talking to you about some of our other solutions. If you did see anything you liked today, feel free to get in touch with us about a customized demo. So much like the demo you saw, we'll actually cater it to your organization so we can fill in the gaps and create a platform demo that will work best for you. You can contact me or Replicon itself, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.